In the secretive world of global finance, his name was a whisper: Jho Low. He was a ghost, moving between worlds, leaving behind champagne bubbles and billion-dollar questions. Not a prince or politician, yet he commanded the attention of both. His power was immense, but its source was a mystery. He appeared from nowhere, a young man with an insatiable appetite for the best of everything. Jho Low was a master of perception, a puppeteer who thrived in the shadows. He rarely gave interviews, avoided cameras, and yet his influence was everywhere. He was the unseen hand behind deals that reshaped skylines and financed political dynasties. Those who met him described a man both charming and ruthless, a social chameleon. His anonymity was his greatest asset, allowing him to operate without scrutiny. His story began in Southeast Asia, the grandson of a mining tycoon, but his ambition dwarfed his family's wealth. From a young age, he learned that access was more valuable than assets. This understanding became the foundation of his empire, built on borrowed credibility and audacious promises. The legend of Jho Low grew with every extravagant party and impossible deal. But beneath the dazzling generosity, a darker truth lurked. His wealth was not his own. He was the architect of one of the most audacious financial crimes in history, a phantom haunting the global financial system. Jho Low didn't just live in luxury. He built a fantasy world with other people's money. His playground was the globe, his toys the most expensive imaginable. Super yachts, penthouses, mansions. The Equanimity, his most famous yacht, was a floating palace designed to make a statement. Its owner was above the rules. He hosted legendary parties attended by Hollywood stars and business moguls. He collected trophy properties in New York, Beverly Hills and London, rarely living in any of them. Their purpose was to be owned, part of the grand illusion of his self-made fortune. In Las Vegas, he was a whale, wagering millions in a single night, losses that only added to his myth. The money seemed endless, but it wasn't his to lose. He threw a 30th birthday party costing $100 million, flying in Britney Spears to sing Happy Birthday. He showered celebrities with gifts, diamond necklaces, priceless art, crystal pianos. These were investments in his image, borrowing glamour and legitimacy from the famous. By associating with the beautiful and powerful, he crafted a narrative where he was not just rich, but a central figure in global pop culture. It was a spectacle of pure performance, a movie of his own making. But behind the fantasy, the money fueling it all was stolen. The 1MDB scandal began with a grand vision for Malaysia, a sovereign wealth fund to drive economic development. One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB, was promoted as a vehicle for progress. But behind the patriotic facade, Jho Low saw an opportunity. He was close to future Prime Minister Najib Razak, positioning himself as an unofficial advisor. With no official title, he operated freely, pulling strings from the shadows. The plan raised billions for 1MDB, ostensibly for development, but siphoned off a significant portion through offshore shell companies and complicit banks. The transactions were a maze, designed to be untraceable. To make it work, Low needed partners. Enter Goldman Sachs, which helped 1MDB raise $6.5 billion, earning $600 million in fees. The bank's involvement gave the scheme legitimacy. With Goldman Sachs on board, the grand deception was ready for the world. Billions would be raised, but much of it would vanish into a web of fraud. The stage was set for one of the largest financial crimes in history, and almost no one saw it coming. Jho Low was the mastermind of the 1MDB fraud, exploiting the weaknesses of the global financial system. He set up a dizzying array of shell companies in secretive jurisdictions, creating a smokescreen of authenticity. The first major heist 1MDB's joint venture with Petro-Saudi International. $1 billion was transferred. $700 million was secretly diverted to a shell company controlled by Low. This became the blueprint legitimate-looking deals as covers for massive theft. Low refined his methods, orchestrating complex deals and inflating prices to funnel excess cash through offshore accounts. He forged documents, bribed officials, and communicated through encrypted apps. Over 5 years, an estimated $4.5 billion was stolen, money meant for Malaysia's future. Instead, it funded Low's life of luxury. He turned a national fund into his personal piggy bank. For years, no one noticed. The architect had designed a fortress of fraud, seemingly impenetrable, but every fortress has a weakness, and cracks were beginning to show. Jho Low knew financial wizardry alone wouldn't protect him. He needed influence. He built a shield of connections, stretching from Malaysian government to Hollywood and Wall Street. He bought access, friendship, and silence, becoming a patron to the powerful. His alliance with Prime Minister Najib Razak was the cornerstone, managing Najib's finances and funding his lifestyle. As long as Najib was in power, 1MDB was shielded from scrutiny. Low also forged ties with Middle Eastern elites, bringing them into 1MDB deals and buying their protection. In the West, he paid lobbyists and PR firms, but his most spectacular campaign was in Hollywood, befriending A-list actors and producers. By surrounding himself with celebrities, he borrowed their glamour, blinding the world to the dark source of his wealth. It was a calculated strategy: dazzle the world, and they won't ask questions. Jho Low's most audacious move was his foray into Hollywood. Using stolen 1MDB money, he founded Red Granite Pictures with Riza Aziz, Najib's stepson. Their flagship project, The Wolf of Wall Street, a film about financial fraud and excess. Low poured over $100 million into the film, visiting the set and reveling in the world he was creating. The film became a critical and commercial hit, earning 5 Oscar nominations. Low walked the red carpet, hosted extravagant parties, and gifted DiCaprio Marlon Brando's Oscar. For a moment, he was at the center of the universe he'd always wanted. The irony: the man funding a film about fraud was orchestrating an even bigger one. Red Granite produced more films, each a tool to launder Low's reputation. But the very film that symbolized his triumph would become key evidence in his downfall. The spectacle couldn't last forever. For years, Jho Low's empire seemed untouchable. But the first cracks appeared in the press, as journalists began asking questions about 1MDB's missing billions and Low's sudden wealth. Claire Rucastle Brown's Sarawak report published leaked documents exposing the fraud. Financial authorities in Singapore, Switzerland, and the US noticed suspicious transfers. Law enforcement agencies quietly began connecting the dots. The Wall Street Journal's 2015 exposé traced $700 million to Najib's personal accounts, blowing the story wide open. The world was finally paying attention. The revelations triggered a global chain reaction. The U.S. Department of Justice filed a massive civil forfeiture complaint seeking to seize over $1 billion in assets bought with stolen 1MDB money. The list included Low's penthouses, mansions, art, and the Equanimity yacht. The DOJ's action was a devastating blow, exposing the full scale of the theft. Swiss and Singaporean authorities shut down banks and charged bankers with money laundering. Public anger in Malaysia exploded, leading to Najib's ouster in the 2018 election. The new government reopened investigations. Najib was arrested and charged. With his protectors gone, Jho Low became a fugitive. An international arrest warrant was issued. The man who once mingled with the elite was now on the run. The global heist was exposed, the web of deceit unraveling for all to see. Billions had vanished, but the truth was finally emerging. The world watched as the Phantom's empire crumbled. Today, Jho Low is a fugitive, his whereabouts unknown. He's believed to be hiding in China, protected by powerful figures. He protests his innocence, claiming to be a scapegoat. The fallout continues. Goldman Sachs paid billions in fines. Bankers went to prison. Najib is serving a 12-year sentence. Governments have seized and sold off Low's assets, but much remains unrecovered. The 1MDB scandal exposed deep flaws in the global financial system, a cautionary tale of unchecked greed. Jho Low's story is not over. The architect of the heist remains at large. His legacy is a chilling reminder. In high finance, the biggest ghosts are the ones who can make billions vanish into thin air.